Thank you. Well, good morning, everyone. I clearly lost the battle with Sylvia when she told me she wanted to introduce me on the stage with that clip from the movie, the George Clooney movie. It's so appropriate to have us Americans looked upon in that kind of way. And for those of you who saw the movie, I can assure you, I only have about 10 loyalty cards, so I haven't traveled the world like George Clooney did. But thank you so much, Sylvia, for inviting me to participate in the second annual HR conference here in Barcelona. What a fabulous city. It's my pleasure to be here with all of you, and I'm really looking forward to spending a few minutes talking to you about a topic that's important to me and hopefully important to you, near and dear to my heart, and that's some trends in global outplacement. I've spent about 20 years in this industry, and I've had a great privilege of being able to positively impact the lives of about 1 million people who've gone through transition, through almost $1 billion of sales of outplacement services with companies just like yours who've provided those services to people that are leaving your organization. And my passion in the business and what drives me is really around the value that I see in the business, and that's going to be the theme that I talk to you about a little bit in the next few minutes. One of the things I'm asked about all the time as I travel around the world and talk to CEOs and business executives and operations leaders, HR leaders, procurement folks is, how are you different? There are so many similarities in the firms that we see. And one of the things I like to talk about is the services actually are pretty similar, if you think about it. But what's really different is the firms themselves. And the firms like you who've purchased the services and seen the difference and had an experience with firms like Career Partners International and Advantage and other partners that are members of the CPI family, they really recognize and value what those differences are. And I'll share a few with you. One is we have a partnership model. And so for us, in all of the regions around the world, we have owners, not staffers, in the businesses to serve you. This business for us is personal. Our reputation in the market, your reputation in the market, how we take care of clients and customers, the way we drive the business, it's personal because we're owners and we're partners. And that's a real big difference. Another difference you'll see is if you take a look at the center of this very simple model we use, which describes our philosophy and our approach to the business, it starts with you, the clients. It's about your business strategy. And as you can see, transition is on the bottom left of the wheel, but it's a permanent element of the talent management cycle and one that I hope you'll consider as you put together your talent management plans. Today, I want to cover a couple things with you. We'll share a couple of facts and figures. I'll tell you a little bit about what I know about the industry in the 20 years I've collected it. We'll share some trends that we're seeing both from the users, people going through transition, as well as the buyers. I'll talk to you a little bit about why companies I've spoken to think outplacement is a strategic priority and why it should be important as part of your agenda. I'll give you some best practices that you can use and take back to your organization, and then just a couple of insights from me about what I think the future of the business really looks like. So first, facts and figures. It's about a $1 to $3 billion industry. This is not a small piece of the HR spend. Depending on where we are in the economic cycle, it could be as high as $3, maybe even $4 million. The industry peaked probably at $5 million during the financial crisis in 2008 and 2009. There are 2 global firms that are owned by staffing companies, and they have a little more than 1/3 of the market share in this space. There are 4 global networks, including Career Partners International, hundreds of boutiques, small firms who handle some one-offs, a handful of virtual providers, mostly in the US, who provide services over the phone without a face-to-face component. And the top industry spenders, as you can see, the companies that consistently churn in their organization and because of the reconfigurations and the redesigns of their organization, include financial services, pharmaceutical companies, technology, consumer goods, and healthcare. So they're some of the biggest spenders in this space. Take a look at this slide for a minute. As I prepared this presentation, these are just a few of the announcements a few weeks ago in the news about layoffs. Over 80,000 people on this slide. And then you add to it Meg Whitman's recent announcement at HP of 30,000 more people coming out of that organization in the next 2 years. Caterpillar announced 10,000 people coming out. This is a massive number of people. And it's interesting, in 1967, when this industry was invented, if you will, by a company called DBM, where I spent a little bit of time in my career, it was really all about downsizing. And that was a service that was purchased periodically when companies were downsizing. Today, it's an integral part of organizations' overall talent management and talent mobility strategy. And it's as commonly used and regularly discussed as recruitment is. And that's been an evolution that's happened probably over the last 5 or 6 or 7 years. Some of the trends, and we'll shift for a moment to users, people who've gone through transition. I've been in organizations and I've been part of thousands of focus groups, talking to thousands of people who've left organizations, who are going through transition, and this is a list of the things they value most. You can take a look at them, I won't read them, but some of the most important, and the one at the top, is singularly, in the 40 or more years this business has been in existence, the number one most valued service is the interaction with the consultant and the coach. And I'll talk a little bit later about, as you think about your strategies for partnering with a firm for outplacement, why that's so important. But these are the kinds of things they want: connections to jobs, opportunities to build their skills, networking, as Sylvia mentioned. And really a blended approach, an approach that includes being able to go to an office and work with a consultant, as well as using technology for the job search. So these are the top things users of the service want. The buyers of the service, it's interesting. It's shifted over the last few years, and I've spoken, and I spend a lot of my time talking to corporate clients and clients in the public sector about what they really value and what their processes look like in their organization. And a few of the key trends that I've noted recently are, one, procurement is involved, and it's really important that HR and procurement get in alignment about the service that you're going to provide to your employees, and often they're not. There's been so much consolidation in our own industry. Now, players are being invited to the table who don't really have experience, like CPI and like companies like Advantage do, in providing services. So it's created a lot of challenges for organizations. There's been some price pressure in our industry, quite honestly. And companies, because they care so much about the spend, have shortened the programs versus providing longer programs. And that's created some challenges in markets where there are high unemployment rates, and it's taking a little longer for candidates to land jobs. So these are some of the things we've seen companies doing over the last few months, and in particular the last 18 months. But it's important to remember in your organization, if there's nothing else you take away from my discussion with you today as buyers of the service, outplacement is and should be a strategic priority in your organization. Here are 2 quotes I pulled that I like a lot that really resonate with me, and I hope they resonate with you. Many people believe that how you take care of someone leaving your organization impacts and actually drives the organization's performance, profitability, productivity, and brand value. And on the last quote, you'll see that some experts actually believe that the cost of not providing outplacement services to people leaving your organization is actually much more expensive because of the lost productivity involved. So we're passionate about it. We hope you're passionate about it as well. So what are some best practices? What are some things you can be thinking about in terms of providing services? And one I suggest all the time is thinking about outplacement not so much as an event, but as part of your overall talent management cycle. And why should you do that? Here are a couple of reasons I've noted. One is Alumni Matter. People that leave your organization talk about your organization in a certain way that impacts your brand. So making sure that how you exit people is in a positive way impacts actually the recruitment of people coming in. With the war for talent, which I keep hearing is back, companies need to think about people coming into the organization want to know how they're going to be treated when they leave the organization. And the talent relationship continues. People that leave your organizations continue to be users, customers, clients, their neighbors, their friends, their kids work for your organizations. And that's one of the reasons why it's really important. It impacts retention in your brand, which I've mentioned. And also the thing that's been talked about for over 40 years is hopefully it reduces any litigation in your firm because of the way you're successfully taking care of people who are leaving. Another best practice, I think, is really to make sure that you select a provider that offers you these services. If you've had a provider that you've been using for years and you've not been out to release a proposal to find out what's happening, you may be missing some information. Some of the newer firms, Advantage, some of my colleagues here today, partners of CPI, we're innovative. We guarantee our service, and we want you to know that every candidate you send us will be happy and we'll work with them until they are if there's a problem. You want to make sure that you hold the partner responsible for outcomes and make sure you agree to what those outcomes are up front. Look for firms that are financially strong, not weak and struggling and having layoffs on their own. Make sure they can scale and provide services across the region and across the globe. Make sure you get information from them and that they demonstrate the expertise they have and ask them to give you some competitive pricing, especially in your organization if you're going to have layoffs of a significant size. So those are some of the best practices that I would recommend and I hope you take back in your organization. And finally, the future of outplacement. It's here to stay. So many colleagues ask me, is this a service that's going to be missing in the future? And I don't think it is. Companies tell us that it's an element of their overall transition cycle that they need to pay attention to because of their impact that it has on your brand and your reputation in the market. And I think there are two distinct characteristics about the business that we're going to see going forward enforced even more. And one is global. Organizations today want to work with a firm that is either global itself or that is aligned with a global organization. People are moving across the region, across the globe, and hopefully you will select a partner when you're in the process of doing so that gives you the global reach and the global capabilities that you need. And then the second piece of that is technology. It's really important that technology has changed the way we do business. And in our organization, we've created technology. We have a global, fully integrated global technology platform that you can use as buyers so that at your fingertips, you can have information about people, about organizations, placements. Are they leaving your organization, going to competitors? What's the spend? We need technology for how we manage our relationships with all of you. And it's important that technology is used by the candidates themselves in transition as they move to another job. So global and technology is part of the future. It's been a real pleasure having a chance to share my passion. Outplacement is often a topic that people have seen as strategic, but more and more we're seeing this discussed at the board level, at the CEO level, and with members of the C-suite. And I hope you have some takeaways about the industry and things you can do in your own organization. I'll look forward to meeting some of you at the speaker stand outside. So thank you very much. Thank you so much.